The United States is a country where your salary doesn't just tell you how much money you make. It tells you how you wake up, what you worry about at 2 a.m., and how much of yourself you have left at the end of the week. Most people think a raise just means a nicer car. But that's not true, because moving from $50,000 to $100,000 doesn't just change your bank account. It changes your psychology, your relationships, and your stress levels. And moving to $200,000 changes everything again, but not in the way you think. So we're not going to talk about budgets or saving tips. We're going to understand the patterns, the invisible ceilings, and the kind of life each level actually forces you to live. Because once you see the real difference between these numbers, you'll stop chasing a salary and start chasing a life. Let's get into it. The first level is $50,000 a year. This is the foundations. This is where most people start, and many never leave. At this level, you are trading your time directly for survival. You have a job, not a career. There's a difference. You have responsibilities, but very little control. You can pay rent, but owning a home feels like a fantasy. You can eat out, but you check prices before you order. You have health insurance if your employer provides it, but a real emergency can still wipe you out. The constant feeling at this level is tightness. Not poverty, but tightness. One car repair, one medical bill, 1 month without work, and the whole structure shakes. At $50K, life is very concrete. You think in weeks, not years. Can I make it to the next paycheck? That's the real question. You work hard, but your effort doesn't scale. If you work more hours, you don't make more money unless you get overtime. And overtime just trades your life for a little more airs. Most people at this level are not lazy, they're exhausted, because the system asks them to be grateful for stability, but stability at $50K is a fragile word. You learn to wait for a raise, wait for a promotion, wait for life to get easier, and waiting becomes a habit. The danger here isn't laziness. The danger is getting comfortable with surviving instead of building. Then there's the second level, $100,000 a year. This is where the shift happens. At $100K, you are no longer fighting for survival every month, and that changes everything. Suddenly you can think, you can save, you can invest a little, you can take a vacation without going into debt. Your stress changes shape. You're no longer afraid of a flat tire. Now you're afraid of stagnation. Because at $100K, you see the next level clearly. You know you're doing well compared to most people, but you also know you're not free. You still have a boss. You still have a schedule. You still exchange your time for money, just at a higher rate. But here's the hidden trap of $100K. Lifestyle creep. You start to feel like you deserve nicer things, a better apartment, a newer car, more expensive dinners, and before you know it, your $100K lifestyle leaves you with the same savings as your $50K lifestyle. You look richer, but you're not safer. Many people get stuck here for decades, not because they can't earn more, but because they can't stand the discomfort of living below their means. At $100K, you have options, but you also have more to lose. You start caring about status, about appearances, about keeping up with peers who are also pretending. The real challenge at this level is discipline, because for the first time, you have money to waste. And wasting it feels like freedom until you realize you're still trapped in the same game, just with better shoes. Now the third level, $200,000 a year. This is where the rules change completely. At $200K, you are no longer trading time for basic survival. You are trading judgment, responsibility, and often stress. Most people at this level are not working harder. They are working smarter, but also carrying weight. They manage others. They make decisions that affect entire teams or projects. They are paid for what they know and how they react under pressure. The biggest difference at $200K is not the money, it's the freedom to choose. You can afford to quit a bad job without a backup. You can afford to invest in skills or businesses. You can afford to say no. That last one is the real luxury. At $50K, you cannot say no. At $100K, you can say no sometimes. At $200K, you can say no regularly. But here's what no one tells you. At $200K, your time becomes more expensive than your money. You start paying for convenience. You outsource cleaning, cooking, driving. Not because you're lazy, but because your hour is worth more than the cost of hiring someone. And that creates a strange distance. You have fewer ordinary moments. You think in years, not weeks. You plan, you invest, you build. But you also lose something. The simplicity of a $50K life where a pizza on Friday felt like a celebration. At $200K, you can have anything, so nothing feels special. Many people push to reach this level, only to discover that the finish line moves. Because once you're at $200K, you see $400K, and the hunger doesn't stop unless you decide to stop it. When you look at these three lives side by side, you start to understand something uncomfortable. Money doesn't solve you, it amplifies you. If you're anxious at $50K, you'll be anxious at $200K, just about better things. If you're generous at $100K, you'll be more generous at $200K. If you're insecure, more money just gives you more expensive insecurities. The real difference between these levels isn't happiness, it's margin for error. At $50 K, one mistake hurts for months. At $100 K, you have a cushion. At $200 K, you have options. But in all three lives, you still wake up in your own heads. You still have relationships. You still wonder if you're doing enough. The only question that matters is not how much you make. It's what you're trading for that number. At $50 K, you trade time and energy. At $100 K, you trade ambition and comfort. At $200 K, you trade responsibility and complexity. Every level has a cost, and most people only see the salary. They don't see the sleepless nights of the manager at $200 Ks. They don't see the boredom of the mid-level 100K role that pays well but goes nowhere. They don't see the dignity of someone at $50 K who still finds joy in small things. So stop asking what job pays more. Start asking what kind of pressure you want. How much uncertainty can you hold? How much boredom can you tolerate? How much of your identity is tied to your income? Because the difference between these three lives is not just lifestyle. It's the game you choose to play. The $50 K game is about survival and small joys. The $100 K game is about ambition and traps. The $200 K game is about leverage and loneliness. None of them is the right answer for everyone, but one of them is the right answer for you right now. And that answer can change over time. That's the good news. You are not locked in, but you have to see the trade-offs clearly. Because once you see them, you stop envying someone else's salary. You start designing your own life. If you want to keep learning how to make better decisions and build a different kind of future, subscribe to this channel.